The next one is a video that we're going to show you. I think Luba will put it on. It's about my school.
Once upon a time, in a place called Cosmo City, little Tembi walked to preschool. It looked rather gritty. Happy Feet Daycare, said the sign on the wall, where everyone was eager to learn and play ball. While parents were at work far away, Mama watched over them during the day. But all wasn't well with the ECD in Cosmo City. Problems you couldn't fix just by making it look pretty. The school was overcrowded almost every day, and without proper training, teachers couldn't educate through play. A lack of equipment, resources, and skill meant that both teachers and parents were worried for real. The school loved to care for both girls and boys, but they barely had any educational toys. Along came Grow, who could see the distress and offered a recipe for instant success. Infrastructure upgrades, equipment, and training to start, curriculum and mentorship with the children at heart. They fixed ceilings, toilets, kitchens, and walls, bought educational toys and activity balls. Teachers enjoyed their new school training, and soon they were ready to do more than just play. And then, what happened next? The school was reopened, and all the children came back. And now Happy Feet Daycare is totally on track. There are new colors and puzzles to complete, where children learn and dance to a beat. A space to draw and books to read. Grow took care of their every need. Now, Cosmo City has a place that is special, so that each child can reach their full potential. Parents now go to work with peace of mind that their children are not being left behind. But that's not all. It's not just one school that kids can adore. Grow and my school are adding 20 more to help make other schools more than just pretty, to empower women and uplift a city. A big thanks to Grow with Educare and My School, My Village, My Planet. Like mystical fairies using their powers for good, there's hope for kids in every neighborhood.
I've always had a big dream to nurture the young children from my community to get them ready for school and for life. I also employ the teachers and I'm financial independent. Thanks to Grow with Educare, my story has a happy ending because now I can do that and more.
I'm happy that we have a very good school close to us. And my child is well looked after, receiving the best education without traveling very far.
At Grow ECD, we believe that in providing communities with high quality early childhood development education, we lay the foundation for children to excel scholastically and socially. Our model includes a business in a box, which provides women with business support to become entrepreneurs, creating sustainable businesses. In addition, they become good employers, and most of all, exceptional teachers.
Great work that they're doing. I really hope that you all took one of those forms from our school, and yet you're all part of the project for that you can get money for your school specifically. So are you all in on that one? Please be. And where you, I think that you can put more than one beneficiary on it. 3, I think. 3. So even if it's your children's school and the school where you work, they can all benefit from that. Okay, I think it's time for our speaker now. Emilise, I'm just going to tell these people how clever you are. Very clever lady. Sure. 2003, she changed her business name to Dare. I'm sure she's going to tell you why. She completed her honours degree with distinction in psychology as well as master's degree with distinction in research psychology. She's also an international accredited coach with an ICF and a certificate NBI, the Needling Brain Instrument, consultant and coach. She's certified as a brain gym in depth as a counselor. She is John Maxwell certified presenter of leadership courses. She has worked nationally and internationally with leaders and presented different leadership and stress management courses in lots of different companies, Brazil, Jordan, Namibia, and here in South Africa. Please give a big hand to Emilise, and she will tell us what she's all about. Thank you.
Thanks. Good afternoon. Now, as you have heard, I'm Emilise Rautenbach, and my company is DARE. Now, I've got this company under the name of DARE for 17 years already, and the D stands for dynamic, the A stands for action, the R for rebuild, and the E for enhance. And I think we can say that we take a dynamic step in people's lives to totally change it because we work with the brain. And the moment that you work with the brain, everything will change. And I think I can say that because it happened to me about 20 years ago. I was busy with brain dynamics. It's a very interesting course. It's coming from America, teaching you all that the research and all the people that had something to say about the brain, they taught me these things. And in that exact time, my father got a brain tumor. And the doctors gave him a few months to live. And they said, if they're going to try to operate, he will be paralyzed on his left side, he will be blind, and he won't be able to speak. So I sat there in intensive care next to his bed. And suddenly it clicked that just maybe it was God's will that I had to do this brain dynamics course so that I can have something in my hands to help my father with. And when he woke up there, he was totally paralyzed on his left side. The only thing that he could have seen was lightness, darkness, and movement. And he wasn't able to talk. He could say a few words, but not really sentences. So we started to work with him. And remember, it was really fresh in my mind, all the theories that I've learned about. So I said, okay, let's do more research and let's understand the brain much more so that we can help my father. And we started to work with him. And today I can stand here in front of you and I can tell you, you know what, I don't know what you believe, but I can't keep quiet about it. The moment that you put your hands in the hands of God and it's His will, then He can use you and He can make miracles happen. That's what I know. I don't just believe it. You know, during that year, we prayed a lot. But luckily, not luckily, I think it was meant to be that we applied the right things at the right time. And during that year, we saw how my father got better. And after a year, he could walk normally like me and you. Now remember, he's got a hole in his brain like this up till today. He's not supposed to walk at all. He got back his movement in his arm and he can walk normally. After a year, he could see in such a way. Remember, he could have seen only lightness, darkness, and movement. He could have seen in such a way that he started to drive his own motor car again. After a year, he started to, he that couldn't speak properly, after a year, he spoke in such a way that he started to preach again every Sunday up till last year, because this year he's 83 years of age. Now that's a miracle, It's a miracle. So when that happened, I said to myself, I want to know what's going on in the brain. How was it possible for my father? I know it's a miracle from God, but what happened in the brain? And that's why I've changed the name to DARE. Because then I realized that there's a lot of things that we don't know about. And that's influencing us. And we're going to talk about that today so that you can understand more about the brain and about our abilities. Now, to start off with, I just want to quickly explain to you. Is it down? This is then the different sections in DARE. So you can see we work in the business environment, especially with leadership and coaching, and we've got different courses. We work as consultant and coaching people, and also in missionary work. This is DARE ministry. So we do a lot of missions. I was in Israel, in Jordan, I was in Brazil with a lot of leadership courses, but then also mission work. And then the DARE education. Can you see this is the biggest one? So it's because my background is a teacher, and it's because I love education, and because I know teachers so well that I really want to uplift them and inspire all the principals and teachers, and I hope we can do it today. So therefore, you see these courses for learners that we also present. It all includes brain dynamics, how to work with the brain effectively. These are the courses for teachers. So you can see we work a lot throughout South Africa. And why I started this was because I realized that we have in the brain, we have 8 dimensions. Now, I want to show you how people differ in their thinking. Because we can't start talking about communication and management of conflict if we don't understand how we process information. Because that differs from person to person. And if we don't understand what's the basics of thinking preferences and what's the basics of stress functioning in the brain, then we won't be able to talk about the solutions. Okay, so bear with me so that I can explain to you how thought works in the brain. Now, if you think you're going to start thinking in a certain part in the brain, as you sit here, all of you have got 8 dimensions in the brain where you can think. Now, you've got certain preferences. Now, from the time that you were born until about the end of grade 7, you form your thinking preferences 70% from your environment. Did you hear that? 70% your environment that's going to influence your thinking. It means that the teacher, the parents, the environment, the school environment will influence a child's thinking for the rest of his life. Only 30% is genetical. So now what happens is that, look at this. This is now just to explain to you. Think of, you take out the brain, you flatten it, and then you divide it in 4 quadrants. And this is what you see there. All right. So now, just to show you, can you see there's a percentage of 79? All right. And we name this quadrant in the brain the R2 quadrant. So what it means, this percentage is not out of 100. It's a count that's showing you this person is thinking 79% in relation with that and that and that quadrant. Okay, so if we look at this profile of this person, he will start thinking, yeah. When he finished thinking in that part of the brain, so everything must be in place. And then he can be able to move to that part of the brain. So this is his first thinking preference. This is the second one. This is the third one. This is the fourth one. Okay, now he makes a circle with his thinking. But look at this one. This one is also starting here, but his circle, he's going from there to there, and then to there, and then to there. So it makes a circle like this. Now you can get thinking preferences, like for instance, a person can start thinking in this quadrant. Then he can move here, then he can move there and there. or you can start there and move there and there and there. So it differs from person to person. And if you don't understand that, you won't be able to understand communication effectively. So let's quickly see what it means. If you then look at the first quadrant, the first quadrant is the L1 quadrant. So in the L1 quadrant, you've got people that's very logical. They are very in their thinking. Remember, I'm talking about the first preference. All of us think in all of the brain. But we've got a certain preference. And that preference will influence your thinking in class. As a teacher, when you prepare for the class, it will influence your ability to communication, everything. So therefore, these people, they are very logical. They are people that examine everything. So if there's such a child in your class and you give new information to this person, this child will sit there and think, yeah, I don't think that is really true. Yeah, maybe. Okay, and then this afternoon he's going to Google and he's going to examine whether this is real facts and whether this is true. Tomorrow, he will come back and say, yes, ma'am, but yesterday you told us this and this and this, and I saw that this is actually the facts, and this and this and this. So what is now the truth? It's not about you then. It's about his way of thinking, because he can't accept anything if it's not logical, if it doesn't make sense to him. He needs to analyze everything. He needs to understand the exact what, okay, and the exact basics of everything. So therefore, these people also think in measures. So if you then tell them to do some math, and you teach them math, and it doesn't make sense what you are teaching them, they have that, I think that personality then to say, you know what, this doesn't make sense, I'm not going to do it. And then they just stop because it doesn't make sense. And now you stand there in class and you want this child to finish what you said he needs to finish, but he doesn't understand the what behind it. He doesn't understand the facts. It doesn't make sense to him. And then he just say, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't make sense. Then they criticize a lot. So now think of the teachers. If you are a principal, think of your teachers, your team. And think of when they sit there and you tell them something and they start to criticize, then just maybe it's not their intention to criticize you. It's their intention actually to understand and to make sense out of what you are busy saying. So this is the L1 thinkers. They also remember, even though they've got an absolute right and an absolute wrong, a black and a white way of looking at things. They look at it in big picture. So for them, detail is not the important thing. For them, facts is the important thing. They want to understand. So if you have such children in class, make sure that you communicate the information through absolute correct facts, because they are very clear-cut in their thinking and preference. And also teachers that's sitting there. If you're going to tell them, we're going to do this sports event like this and this and this, and it doesn't make sense to them, they're going to oppose that. Not because they want to, but because it doesn't make sense to them. Okay. So then, you've got the L2 thinkers. Those are the very detailed, orientated people. Now, remember, if you then have such a child in class, you will see that this child prefers to write with a pencil so that they can rub it out and start again if something is wrong. In grade 1, such a child will start to cry if he doesn't write on the line. Okay, wants to rub out everything, wants to make sure everything is correct. Then they think in the L1 quadrant. Okay, so the L1 people, normally they've got lists. You know, they write down everything in the list and they tick it off. And if they can tick it off, they feel like, okay, I can manage my day and I know exactly what's happening during my day. So then they feel, okay, it's okay for me. The day worked out. But if you come and you change, quickly change, what they planned out, they are furious. They can't manage their day. They don't want to. They hate change. They want everything to be in a certain structure according to plan. Now you can know principles, you know already. Those teachers that's thinking in the L1 quadrant, they are very structured, they are very detail orientated. If you tell them to do something, they will ask more detail. They want to know, okay, where do I need to start? Where am I going to end? What is the steps? How am I going to do it? So these people, they are also very routined in the way that they do things. Okay. Now, you will see the small children, when they think in the the L2 quadrant, they will tend to, if something is not very neat, they start to clear up the area. Okay. And they want to work in a very neat environment. They don't want to just sit down and work. Okay. And then, the moment that something is not according to the plan, you will see that they tend to freak out. They can't then manage. So then, you've got the people that's thinking in the R1 quadrant. Usually, those are the children that gives us a lot of problems in the class. Those are the children, they think in big picture. They don't want anything to do with any detail, any facts, any structure. They hate structure. They hate routine. The only thing that they are interested in is, I want to experience. I want to see whether it's going to work out. If you say, don't ride on your chair, they will ride on the chair just to see what's going to happen. Okay, so they want to experiment with everything. They need to have solutions for things. So when I say they think in big picture, they are very creative in the big picture thinking. So they will see a problem, and for them it's never a problem because they can immediately see 10 solutions. Okay? And the only problem for them is, which one do I need to choose? So they then immediately start with this solution. If that doesn't work, I'm going to carry on with the next one. So you will find that you tend to think that they don't stress, but they do. Okay? It just seems to other people that they don't stress because they are very creative in the way that they are thinking. Okay? And they want to experience. They will never, if you tell them, you will do this and this and this, they won't. They will do the opposite because they want to experience everything. And these people, they love change. So you will see, routine is not for them. Change, always. And then you will see they tend to make synergies. So in the exams, they will then answer questions, but you will, when you read these questions, you will find, my goodness, maybe this child didn't study the work that I gave him to study, but the answer is so good, I can't mark it wrong. It's actually right, because they make synergies. They learn something in history, and then they say in biology, they say, okay, I've learned about this and this and this. Maybe I can change it. Then I can put it in. Yeah, I'm going to do this. And then they answer and they get marks. Okay, so that is their strong ability to make synergies. And then you get the R2 people. They are the people that's relationship orientated. They want to uplift others. They want to be there for others. So actually, we think that teachers need to think in that quadrant first. My experience is no, they don't. A lot of teachers usually think in the detail-orientated part and then the structured or orientated part, the logical part. But then these people, they want to uplift, they want to help. They are the socializers and the empathizers. They are the people that need other people to be okay. They get energized by other people. So they need to study together. So that thing of us thinking that a child needs to study alone, that's not true. We found that R2 learners study quicker when they sit together, even though you don't even talk to them, but they get your energy while they're sitting in somewhere nearby, and then they study. So they need people around them all the time. If you high-five such a child, that child loves you. And if you ask that child something and say, oh, my boy, that is good, or you touch such a child, that child will listen in your class, will be disciplined in your class the whole time, because they are the people pleasers. Okay, and then you also find that they want to mend others' hearts, always. Now, why I'm telling you this is we need to start thinking about this information. And I know that a lot of you know it already, that we differ in such a way. But now think, if there's conflict between a person that's thinking logically, all right, he needs facts. He's thinking in big picture. He's not relationship orientated. He's very clear-cut in his way of doing things. And now this is the teacher. And now in his class, there's sitting a person that's thinking relationship orientated. So this clear-cut teacher will then give the facts in class and say to the learners, you better do it, and tomorrow I want this and this and this. Now this one is sitting there. He wants to please the teacher. But if he doesn't understand, he's not even going to ask you, because maybe you're going to you're going to tell him you didn't listen or something like that, because you are very clear-cut in what you're busy doing and saying. Okay, so this is usually the conflict that we get. And then among these people, the L2 people and the R1 people, they also will have conflict usually, because these people are very detailed and structured, and they want everything neat and in order. And these people haven't got a cooking clue what is order. They don't know what is detail. They think, you know what? They think about time, 12 o'clock, 25 to 12, and 25 past 12 is it's approximately 12 o'clock. That's how they think about time. All right? Now, can you think what's going to happen if this person makes an appointment? This person makes an appointment with that one. Okay? For this person, 12 o'clock is 12 o'clock. Not a minute past 12. Because 12 is 12. For this person, it's approximately somewhere there. Okay? And then this person can't understand why you are cross with him because you didn't arrive on time. He will say to you, man, chill. It's okay. Okay, it's only 12:15. Nothing happened. Let's go on with the meeting. So he won't understand it. And then we need to find the in-between. Okay? And always, when you work with people, remember what I'm telling you now. Always ask, why did you do this? So just think of it. If you're going to ask this person, why did you come late? Then he's going to tell you what happened, and you're going to see the mess in his brain, how he thought about this meeting and everything. And you're going to realize that it's not intentionally that he was late. It's not to irritate you. It's because he can't keep to time. So you need to learn something from it and say to yourself, next time, when we make an appointment, I tell him to be there half an hour before I will arrive. Because obviously he's going to be late. Okay, so do something like that. And if you are then late for the appointment, at least you didn't wait for him. And then you can tell him, you know what, last time you were late, so I thought maybe I can come late now. You know, so show people, because remember, he's learning through experience. He needs to experience something before he will learn something. And then, let's say this person and this person sit together in a class. Or let's say this is the teacher and this person listens to the teacher. Now this teacher is not going to stick to the facts. He's going to tell stories. He's going to start with this information and then this information. And then this one is going to sit there and think, where's the facts? Okay, I don't come to the point. Teacher, come to the point. I want to know exactly what is the reason for this class now. Okay, so he's going to search for the facts the whole time. If it's, let's say this is the teacher and this is the learner, he's going to stick to the facts and the rules and the right and the wrong. And this one is going to sit there and say to himself, you know what? This teacher needs a chopel. Definitely. Because this is not always right. Because I know that this is wrong, but then this and this and this and this is also right. He works in gray areas. So if the teacher says, start tomorrow with this task, he's going to start the day after. And then it's good also, because I started. So now you can understand where conflict comes from. It's the way we think and it's the way we perceive information. Okay. So now also, when you look at the brain, the other thing that's really bothering me and bothered me during the time that I worked with my father and other brain injured people, I realized that, you know what, we worked with a girl, she fell from a horse, and she only had a part of her left brain left. And we worked with her, and she went back to school, and she got an average of 70%. And I said to myself, how on earth is this possible? Because she hasn't got a whole brain to work with, and she sits there, and she works, but she's stimulating her brain the whole time, what's left of her brain, and the other people don't get the same marks than her. And then I said, okay, let's look into what's happening with the brain when we process information. So if you look at this, you see this part, or this picture, is when you take the brain, you cut it through and you turn it like this. So it's the inner part of the brain. Now, the moment that you process information, the information will come through the brainstem into the brain. Your brainstem is here at the back. So it's the beginning of the brain. Now, remember, that is the door of all information that needs to come in and all information to go out. So now it comes in through the brainstem, then it goes to the emotional part of the brain. So you filter all information through emotion. Now just think of what I'm saying. It means that if there's a child and he is not emotionally stable, he won't be able to process information in class. Even though he's an L1 thinker, that's logical, look for facts. If the emotions is not intact, you won't be able to process information properly. Does it make sense? Okay, so now it goes from there to the cognitive part of the brain. In the cognitive part of the brain, you think in the left and right part of the brain. And all of you know that we've got a left and right brain. So we need both the upper and lower part of the brain to process information properly. we need the left and right brain to process information properly. But all this, when information comes in, goes to the back part of the brain. So now, for you then to have higher thinking, you need to send the information from the back brain to the front brain. And that is where you can think about things, start with planning, start with decision making. So the front brain is the higher thinking place in the brain. But then it goes back to the emotional part where you stick that information onto motivation or onto memory, and then it goes back through the brainstem, and then you can implement whatever you process now. All right, now what I found is that we experience stress. Now, the moment that I talk about stress, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So now we've got good stress and we've got bad stress. So the moment that you've got good stress, it's when you experience that, that butterflies on your stomach and you need to do something, and now you do it and you do it perfectly. That's good stress because it helped you. But now bad stress is the moment that the brain perceives anything as it's a threat. Now, like financial stress, you perceive it as a threat. Emotional stress, when we quarrel with each other, you perceive it as something that's a threat. Now also, we've got something like neurological stress. Now, neurological stress, you don't feel it. You don't know about it. And I'm sure, as I'm looking at you, you've got it. Now, neurological stress is when you live in a polluted area, you will get it. When you don't sleep enough, when you eat incorrectly, when you don't drink enough water, when you are cold, when you work in front of two-dimensional surfaces, like for instance, when you sit in front of a television or in front of a computer or work with a tablet or work with a cell phone. So, how many times do we do that? A lot of times. So the moment that we work two-dimensionally, we will have neurological stress. And neurological stress that you don't know about, that you don't feel, the brain will perceive that as a threat. And then the brain will send blood to the genetic strongest parts. And those parts that's genetically not the strongest won't get enough blood. So when there's not enough blood in a certain place in the brain, you won't be able to process information properly. So just to make it practical, let's say that this child is writing exams, which means that after 20 minutes of working with two dimensions, writing exams, this child will start to downshift. That's a given. So I call this not enough blood in a part of the brain, I call it downshifting. According to the research, we call it downshifting. So this child will then downshift. Now look what downshifting means. You're going to downshift in either the left or the right brain, according to your genetics. So let's say that this child is downshifting in the right brain. Then he's got half of the brain to finish his exam with. In that part of the brain that's working with him, if I turn it like this, you will also either downshift in the upper or the lower part. Let's say that you do downshift in the lower part, then you've got that small part left. Then you will also either downshift in the front or the back part. Let's say that you are the one that downshifts in the front part, then you've got that small part left. People, it's an eighth of the brain. And with that, you need to finish now the exams. No wonder they will tell you, but ma'am, I really studied. Then they get to the exams and they read the question and they think, oh, I can remember the picture on the page, even the number on the page, but the answer is just poof, gone. Okay, and sometimes they sit in the math class. When the teacher explains the math, it feels like I do understand. But the moment they do it themselves, they haven't got a cooking clue. That is downshifting. Now think of this. If you then downshift as a teacher, let's say you work in this part of the brain. Now, you're going to present your class according to this eighth of the brain that you've got awake, okay, in the brain. Then there's children, and if they downshift, they will then, some of them will work in that part, some of them will work in that part, others in that part, others in that part. How on earth will they be able to understand exactly what you are saying? How on earth can you think that when you communicate information to them, that they will take it and they will implement it as if it is you that implement that information? They won't. They perceive that information totally different from what you are talking in class. Can you now understand how many times it happened that you say something in class and the child put up his hand and ask exactly what you said just now? You said it just now. So he's asking that. Why? Because he didn't perceive the information in a way you thought you gave the information. Because you work from this part of the brain and the other one may be at that part of the brain. Okay? So we need to make sure that the way that we communicate is the correct way and that other people will perceive the information properly. Even now, when I'm speaking to you, lots of you will perceive the information that I'm giving you differently. And you will remember different things. Because even though I'm talking to you, there's something like inner memory in your brain, in your subconscious mind. So you will take information that I'm giving you, stick it onto inner memory, and then make a perception of what I'm saying. Can you see? So we can't think that people will always understand things in the way that we thought they're going to understand it. Okay. Then, if you look at the downshifting, when you work from such a small part of the brain says, I'm not going to process information from 2 eyes or from 2 ears. He says it's too difficult. I'm going to rather choose 1 eye or 1 ear, and I'm going to focus on that 1 eye's information to give the brain that information, and that will cause brain blocks. Now, if you've got, let's say, this person sees with his right eye, that is the eye that the brain chose for information processing. Now, you are showing something in class. Okay, the right eye is the one that looks at absolute detail and perceive and gets information from left to right. And we in Afrikaans and English read and write from left to right. Okay, so now he's the one that's really going to help us. But remember, everything on the right side of the body works with the left brain. So now, if you then take the information from the right eye, it needs to be processed in the left brain to be properly processed. Now, if it happens to this child that although he downshifts, he stays awake in the left brain, that eighth of the brain that he's functioning in is in the left brain, he processes information from the right eye, it means that there's an open channel. Even though he downshifts, the channel stays open, so he's visually very sharp. And it means that he will be able to read tonight all the information that he needs to know tomorrow. He will tomorrow write exams and get 80%. And then we say, oh, he's so clever. He's not more clever than the others. It's just an open channel. Can you see? Even though he downshift, he has an open channel. What happens to the child that's also got a right eye, but now the left brain is the one that downshifts? What's going to happen there? So now the information needs to go from the right eye to the left brain, can't be processed there, go back. And this we call then an eye block. Now, if there's a child that's got an eye block, or you can have an eye block. Did you experience you need to read something and you forgot about it? And then just before you need to go to bed, you realize, oh my goodness, I've got that meeting. I quickly need to read something. And then you sit on the bed, you're really tired, you don't want to do it, but you need to do it, and you start reading. Then you get to page 3 or 4, and you realize, oh my goodness, I've done the reading thing, but I can't remember what I've read just now. That is eye block. Okay? So now there's a lot of children that sits there in the class, and they don't see what you are doing on the board. They don't perceive that information because they've got an eye block. A left eye is the one that perceives information from right to left. We write and read from left to right in Afrikaans and English. So that person needs to turn around everything that's coming in. Because remember, the moment that he starts downshifting, the brain will choose the left eye and everything he sees backwards. So tech will come in. The brain realizes I need to turn around everything, and he will know he's busy reading cat. Can you see? So it's going to influence his ability to read. And then also, when we get to communication, we talk about the ears. Okay? If you've got an ear block, and a child has an ear block, and you tell him, quickly come here, my boy, go to Mrs. Duncan and tell her this and this and this. Now he gets to Mrs. Duncan and he thinks, what again? He knew when he went away from you, he knew what he needed to say. But then because of the long way and the long path for information flow, he can't remember. Can you see? So don't think that when you tell somebody something, that they got the information as you have said it and all the detail. It's never the case. Very seldom it's the case. When you've got a person that functions from the left ear, that person will listen to how you talk and not what you're busy saying. So they listen to your intonation. So normally I make a joke and say to people, you know what? When you've got a man, if you've got a wife and she's got a left ear, you're always in danger. All right? Because she will listen to how you are talking to her. And if you talk too loud, she's going to say to you, hey, don't scream at me. Okay? If you talk too soft, she will say, speak up, don't talk so softly. Okay? So you are always in the box because of that. And now remember, if you've got a person that's got a left ear and the left ear is blocked as well, can you think what's going to happen in that class? Okay, you're going to say something, and it's that child that's going to, after the class, when you gave all the information, that child will come and say, ma'am, what must I do here and here and here? You know? And then you get cross with that child and you say to that child, you need to listen. He's busy listening. I promise you, he wants to. I'm sure of it. But because of the left ear and the block, he can't. He can't always process. Or it may happen that you started to talk like this because you got very cross with the learners there in front of you. And this child sit there, and only thing that child can hear is, no. Okay? Because he listens to how you're busy talking. And you need to remember this, because your intonation will influence those learners. Okay? And then also, if you talk to other people, let's say your teacher team, you talk to them, and you are very cross with the learners. Now, you talk like, you know what? I can't believe this. And now the left ear person will hear. That's what he's going to hear. He's going to say afterwards, what's going on with you? What's wrong? And then you will think, but I said it just now. Okay, he's going to irritate you. So that is the left ear listeners. And then you got also something like a hand block. You know, your hands works with the part in the brain that helps you to formulate information. Okay? So one sees it a lot of times because we have got different languages in South Africa. Ne? So the moment that you've got a hand block and you need to talk in another language, not your mother tongue, then it feels like, and suddenly you are not prepared, and suddenly people ask you to talk in that other language. You can talk that language, but sometimes it feels like, oh my goodness, I know exactly what I need to say, but I can't say it properly. I don't know how. So that is formulation problems, and that is a hand block. It works with your hands. And then you've got something like a foot block. If you've got a foot block, it's going to stop your action. So you know what that is? Those learners, they take out their homework. They shift it around, say, I'm quickly going to the toilet. Then he goes to the toilet, comes back, I'm going to drink some coffee, goes and drinks some coffee. You know what? They can't start. 3 o'clock they had to start. 3:30, they didn't start yet. That's a foot block. Now just think of, now you stand in front of a class, okay? You need to communicate information to these learners. Let's say in your class, there's about 10 learners that's got an eye block, an ear block, a hand block, and a foot block. Ay, ay, ay. Can you see? And the moment that the environment is experienced as stressful, they will downshift. That's a given. So we need to understand the impact of stress on the brain. And it's going to influence your relationships. It's going to influence your class presentation. It's going to influence your ability to manage conflict. And if you start understanding this, then everything in your life can change. Because now you understand that there's different blocks. You understand that people perceive information differently because they think differently. So remember this that I'm saying. Always think that you are not the one that's right. Okay. Be open to others. Because the L1 person, the clear-cut person, they will also always think, I'm right. No, this is the way. I thought it through. This is the logical way to do it. You are not always right. Because there's other ways to do things as well. And that is where the big conflict starts. It's when we think that we are right and the way that we see things is the right way. It's not true. There's 8 different ways to see things. There's 8 different ways that the brain will perceive information. It's not always right or wrong, but it's different ways. So if we start just with that, can you imagine what's going to happen in your relationships? If you always talk to each other knowing this, that just maybe I'm not right. Just maybe. So you as a principal, if you stand there in front of the teachers, how are you going to implement this principle of I'm not always right? Tell me, how do you think? Keep in mind, you've got L1, L2, R1, R2 thinkers, maybe people downshifted, maybe they have got ear block, hand block. How do you think? Will you start helping people to get on the same page when you talk to them? Talk to me. Yes.
I think what I would do is to accommodate each and every one educated because we are not of the same personality and of the quadrant.
Yes.
In making sure that I also get each and everyone's educator's views because they won't have the same views as I have.
That's right.
Just to ask them, how do you feel about this? What is your opinion of this? What do you suggest that we need to do?
Yes. Now, what I a lot of times get is that the L1 thinker planned out everything already. It's logical to him. He will say, okay, I want to implement what you said, all right? I'm going to get all the opinions, all right? And then he's going to sit there and think, this doesn't make sense. Oh, no, this doesn't make sense. Yeah. So you see, it's very difficult in a meeting or in a class environment always to do the right thing. So what I want to tell you is you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to do the thing right always. But at least if 90% of the day we can do it right, then we win all the way. So what we can start doing is to understand that the first thing that people want is to know I count. Just think of it. You see me. Teacher, you see me. In the teacher's room, principal, you see me. So how can we do that? Maybe, that's just a suggestion, maybe we can do something like, a class environment, and you stand outside and the learners is coming into your class. You can think of interesting ways of how to greet the children individually. It's not going to take a lot of time. For instance, the L1s, they will hate it when you try hugging them. Okay. They don't want to touch the whole time. No, don't touch me. It's not logical. So they maybe will high-five you. Or they maybe have something on the wall outside, and they can say hello by looking at you and touch it. Hi, teacher. And go in. But they count. Okay. There are two people. They will love it when you hug them. So you can make something like a heart. And if they touch the heart, you know it's communicating to you, ma'am, I want a hug today. You will see sometimes there's people, learners, L1 learners, and there was a big thing that happened at home. And because they see the other learners is doing it and hugging, they will also then one day touch the heart and be able to hug you because they need it. Because you see, everything that we process needs to go through emotions. And the moment that you're going to have learners in your class and they know the teacher knows I'm there, then they will experience that they don't want to be undisciplined. You will be able to discipline them much better. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you do something on the outside of the class to make them feel welcome and to make them understand you count. And I want to greet you specifically in a certain way. The L2 learners, they will sometimes just high five or just give their hand to you. Okay, the R1 learners, they will sometimes hug you. They will sometimes just do this. Hey, ma'am. Okay, and it's fine. They can do it. But you can have then on the outside maybe a 4-quadrant page, and you can put pictures and they can touch that picture and tell you what is the way that they want to be greeted today. Maybe a suggestion. Or you can do something like this. You always make sure that in any communication situation or conflict situation, you listen intentionally. Because remember, maybe you are the one that's got that ear block. And maybe you are the one that's got that left ear. So we can overcome anything just by thinking about it. So what you can do is, if you realize that sometimes during a meeting or sometimes when I'm presenting a class, I can't always hear what the children is saying, or sometimes I miss something, always have a small booklet with you. And always, when people start to talk to you and you realize this is something that I need to remember, take it out, tell them, you know what, I want to listen to you intentionally because you are so important to me. And then write down, no, not sentences, write down only words to help you to remember what this person said. Can you think what's going to happen in a relationship between a man and a wife? If you tell your husband, you know what, this that you are saying now is so important to me, I want to jot down a few words just to make sure that I'm on the same page. Huh? What will happen? And yeah, he's got to watch what he's saying. And you know what? A lot of times I've found that specifically when you do this, he's not going to say anything to you. He's going to think what he's busy saying. You're going to think what he's saying to you. You're going to write down. You will be able to repeat afterwards. So just think of this way of communication. The moment that you realize there's conflict, yes, there's something that's coming now. Something. Then you say, oh, no, this is too important for me. Let's just stop here. I'm going to get my booklet. I'm going to write down. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the same page.
But generally, women remember things 20 years.
Yeah.
And we bring it up later.
Yes, but you can't do that anymore. You know that. So therefore, if you write down, the thing with this is also that then you've got the ability afterwards to say to that person, you know what I'm hearing here is, and then you look at the words and you say, I'm hearing that you are saying this and this and this. Now just think. The one is working from this part of the brain. The other one is working from that part of the brain. Now with this kind of communication, these two people make sure that the one that's hearing is hearing what the person is saying and not perceiving and thinking that this is what he's saying. So you're busy getting on the same page. And you can even teach your children in the class to do that. When a child is coming to you, asking you a question, you say to him, okay, from now on, I want these booklets in everybody's suitcase. Take out your booklet and now listen to what I'm telling you. Write down the words and tell me, what did I say? Okay? So the moment, and you can do it a lot of times. I did it with people that's sitting in front of me, 70, 80 people. Okay? And then I gave them a class just to show them what to do. And that I'm saying now is perfect concentration. Because remember, when you listen intentionally, then you think about what this person is saying, and you need to find words to write down, and you write it down. That is concentration. Can you see? So this is the way that you can also help discipline in your class. So now you sit there, you tell the learners, this is very important that I'm going to tell you now. So take out your examination pads and you need to jot down the words according to you, what I'm saying now. I want you to repeat it afterwards. Boy, oh boy, you will make sure that all of them know exactly what you have said. And that will bring discipline to your school environment. Does it make sense? Okay, then you can also, if you look at this, think about what the other person is saying. Think, is he a person that I know is functioning in the R2 quadrant? Then the way that he's going to talk is he's going to talk relationship orientated. So everything is, you know what, you didn't give me enough time to do this. You weren't there when I experienced this. You know, all the time, relational things. Okay, so think about, what is this person actually saying to me? And then you can react accordingly. So forget about your own thinking preferences and try to get into the other ones. That's not easy, people. That's not an easy job. But you can. You've got that ability. But then also, ask why questions. There's a book named The Why. Okay, so you need to understand if people know why they asked the question, or why did they react like this, or you start to understand why this child is always reacting in this way. Maybe you will get to the bottom of what's really going on in that person's life. So always ask why questions. Then be open to suggestions, especially if you know, if you are sitting here and you function from the L1 or the L2 quadrant, then you're not open always for suggestions. Yeah, it's difficult because you know this is the facts, or you know this is the way things are done. Okay? So be open. Open your mind for any suggestion that comes. And then apologize if necessary. Is that easy? Is it easy for you? Maybe you function from R2. Yeah. So usually for the R2 people, they always ask, just forgive me, because they are relationship orientated. But the other ones, they don't always want to say sorry. Especially if they think, look what, this is not logical for me to tell you that I'm sorry. But what are you going to lose? If you apologize, what are you going to lose? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it's going to help the other person to be okay with you. So start apologizing. And then even when you are a teacher in class, if a child comes back to you, or a parent comes to you, whatever is happening, first apologize. I'm so sorry that you feel like this. I'm so sorry that this happened in the class and it's necessary for you to come to me and talk to me about it. But, and then you can give your way of thinking to them. Okay. So then also, ask questions to get to the same page. Repeat the information to confirm. So just think of a scenario. Let's say the principal gave a lot of things that the teachers need to do, and we're busy planning for something. Now they are in teams, and now these teams need to decide what are they going to do. If they work together, they need to ask questions until they are on the same page. But the way that you make sure that we are on the same page is when you ask me a question, I repeat that question. I say to you, okay, I do understand that you want to know this and this and this. Is it what you want to know? Or do I understand it wrong? So you get to the communication way of repeating. The moment that you repeat, you make sure you're on the same page. Okay, so it's something that you need to teach yourself and teach the people that's working with you to do that. And then, the make notes I mentioned. And then, also this one, you are not always right. Accept it. Just accept it. Your thought preference differ from others. And therefore, you can't think that you are always right. Okay, so let's work together in a team. And when we do understand the different ways of functioning, we can be, there's no way that anyone can stop us. Our teamwork will be wonderful. Yes?
I think it just boils
Yes.
each other's differences.
Yes.
And in that way, your relationships and communication improves, and that's where you get teamwork.
And you know what? Now you are sitting here and you get this information. But now what about the others? Okay, they don't have this information. So therefore you need to coach and lead them into this way of communication. So they won't respect you always. But if you're going to show the respect and always repeat and say to them, you are important to me, I want to understand, please help me to understand what's the meaning of exact the things that you want. Okay, because it seems as if we miscommunicate or we don't understand. You can, along the way, slowly but surely, you'll teach them and you coach them.
There are times where you get people who are of your authority or your authority
Yes.
who are the left one, L1.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yeah.
And you know, like, you are that kind of person that's slightly different.
Yeah.
But that person, because he's an authority, you find it difficult to get through to that person to have an open mind.
Yes,
And it happens a lot in schools,
yeah,
where the principal or the higher up thinks
Yeah.
their position is such that whatever they say is the all and
Th-
end all.
that is the all in all.
Yes. And that is
Okay,
wrong.
so just think of this. When you go to that person and ask him, you know what? I just want to have an answer for this. Why did you say this and this and this? Explain it to me. Why did you want us to do this and this and this? So the why question will make them think. Okay, and when they need to explain it to you, maybe you will get to the understanding why they did that. And then you can ask them also. Remember, there's a wonderful way of communication. If you make somebody else think they thought of the thing you wanted them to think about, then they think they are wonderful and they will do what you wanted them to do.
Fanning the ego.
Yes.
You're fanning the ego.
Yes. So the why question always work. So you can ask them, okay, why did you say this? He explains it. Then you say to him, okay, now why can't, explain to me, why is it that this and this and this options can't work? So help me to understand. Why can't we do this? What do you think about that? Why can't we do that? Just think of it and tell me logically, what is this option going to mean to the school? Just think of questions like that. Okay. Does it make sense? Yes. Okay. So tell me, did it help you?
Sometimes you can't.
Ask the why question.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because of the authority
Ego,
level.
ego.
And you know, people in authority see it as a challenge, and they don't like that. They like the Yavas.
Yeah.
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 So it must be that way over here.
Yes.
We are the highway.
Yeah. But you know what? Those people always like challenges. Okay? So then you start challenging them with logic.
It's just
Okay.
they don't need to learn.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And people that are, I think
We are open to learn.
we're open
Yeah.
to learning. No
Yes.
matter how old, how young,
Yes.
how experienced, what position, we're open to learn, but not everybody is.
Yeah. If you uplift such a person, you boost his ego, you tell him he's wonderful, you do tell him that I really respect you, okay, then he's going to start listening to you. It always works like that.
Already like that.
Is it?
Wonderful. Nothing you say is going to change that. People are like that.
Yeah. Okay, so any questions? More questions?
So if you have a child in your class that is, whatever that one is, the right, L1.
Yeah, the L1. Very logical.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, so the one that's free and
Okay.
is never on time.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, are you not supposed to, as the teacher, try to teach them to be on time? Are you saying we can't do that?
No.
Is that the
No. What I'm saying is that child, it's a wonderful child to work with. Because you know what? They want to know why. So if you tell them, you know what? Let me show you what is time. Okay. So I want you to be on time in future. And you show him maybe a watch, and you tell him, you know, that is 12, but you know, there is 20 minutes. You teach him time. And you say to him, because we don't think like that. We think they process the information as we do. They don't understand the why, and nobody teaches them that. So he needs to experience it. So then you say to him, all right, in my class, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do something. All right? So now let's count out the 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to stand here, I'm going to count. And you're going to start doing it. So that is a challenge for him then. And they work with challenges.
So you can change.
Yeah.
You can accept it, but not to the point where
That's right. So you can help them the whole time. And the main thing with the R1 learner is that you need to lead him. You need to coach him the whole time. Because the L1 and L2s, you just tell them, do this, and they do that. Yeah. Okay. But the R1, you need to lead into the work. Okay. And usually we haven't got time for that, ne? It's difficult. But we need to put the R1 people together and work with them separately, if we can. Okay. And always in your planning, make sure that you explain the why. Why are we doing this? Because that's the R1 people. They want to know that.
Sorry, if you have L1 and R1 or L and R learners mixed in a class,
Yes.
and they irritate each other.
They will, yeah.
Yeah, and they do.
Yeah.
But as a teacher, is there 1 or 2 tips you can maybe give to just to help, like when you present new information, just how to get them all?
Yeah. A wonderful thing to do is when you present the class, you give the L1 learners an opportunity to explain the logic behind it. Remember, the R1s they want to know the why. So now if they get the logic from the L1s, you can always tell them, the R1s, okay, now explain to us, why is it then important to implement this logical stuff that they said? Okay, so make them part of the whole thing, but use their ability, their strong ability in the presentation.
Even
Yes.
on that step, like with the learners, I think different learners, it's even like a good thing to use the buddy system. Like you said, using
That's
the
right.
strength of the one to help the other one.
That's
Although
right.
they irritate, but the one that feels he's in control, if you say, okay, now, you know what, help him, Shim, he needs a little bit of assistance, read to him, it makes them complement each other.
That's right.
They find common ground.
Yeah.
They do fight, but they learn.
Yeah, they learn also then to handle the conflict and to manage that conflict, yes. More questions? Yes.
Is there like a tool to quickly determine which quadrant the child is in? Because the more quiet ones are harder to figure out.
Yes. What I didn't explain to you is when you go to this, let me just see. Okay, to this one. If you've got learners in your class that downshifts in the front brain, okay, remember I said it's either left or right, upper or lower, front or back. If they downshift in the front brain, it's normally learners that will be the silent ones. We call it, they are receptive. So they take in information easily, but the moment that they need to give out information, it's as if there's a wall in front of them. They can't get to that information. They first need to think about it, and then they can talk about it. Okay, that's the receptive learners, and that is the silent ones in your class. So remember, they can have wonderful leadership abilities, but they just need to think about everything before they can talk. Okay? And if you're going to stress them out and ask them, talk to me, say to me, what did I say just now? They're going to stand there and say, okay. So the expressive ones is the ones they downshift here at the back part of the brain. That's the back part. If they downshift in the back part, they are expressive ones. They work from the front brain. They start talking. The moment that they are stressed out, they need to talk. They talk because by talking, they start to understand what they are thinking about. All right. So now, immediately you will know whether a child is expressive or receptive. Those receptive learners, you can then look at the way that they work, okay? And you will find quickly, after the first month that you work with them, you will find the R1 ones immediately. You will see them, okay? The L1 learners, they will always want the logic. So even if you ask questions like, does it make sense? And if there's children in the class that do this, you know, they are the L1 ones. Okay, because they need facts to make sense before they can implement. So that is how you can look at it. There's a tool we can use, but then we put people in boxes. Too quick. And remember what I've said, especially when you are a primary school teacher, remember you are still building the thinking preferences of that child. So I don't want to put them in boxes too quick. Now, high school kids, there's a wonderful tool. If you contact me, I will give you the internet questionnaire. They're going to pay for it, and you can use that too. Okay.
It seems to me that the R1 learners,
yes,
or the people, are the critical thinkers,
though. You know why you think like that?
Logical, you see.
Yeah, remember, the R1 people, remember what I said, we think in all the quadrants. So it can be that that person that you are thinking about, or those learners, is R1 first, but they go to L1 secondly. Now those people, oh my goodness, they are so stubborn. If you tell them something, they don't take it. They want to experiment with everything. Okay, so that is just L1 and R1 together. Okay. So, more questions? Okay. Yes.
They get so nervous, they just want to shout out the answer. They just can't wait.
Yes.
You know, because you say, what is 7 squared? But don't, just raise your hand. They can't help it.
Yeah, that is... Yeah, it's the expressive ones that I told you about. They downshift in the back brain. And even though you tell them, keep quiet, remember they don't hear you. They need to talk about information to understand it. Okay, so you can manage it by putting that child here in front with you. And then you can talk to that child and say to him, teacher wants you to keep quiet while I'm presenting the class. And then every time that you want to comment on something, we're going to use a sign. So maybe it can be a sign like, okay, or something like that. Perfect timing. So maybe you can give a sign, all right, and then you can finish off with what you have said just now and give this child an opportunity to say, to talk. Because remember, that child needs to talk to understand. Otherwise, he won't be able to process.
But sometimes it feels like, you know, so the class sequence is like showing off, but they're not showing off.
No.
And then we just be quiet.
Yeah, yeah.
I find that
Yeah.
you feel like you're insulting the child.
Yeah, but if you talk to that child beforehand and say to him, I just want to finish what I'm busy saying, and then you can talk. So if I give you the sign, just wait a bit, and then I'll give you an opportunity to talk. So it's just for discipline in the class itself. Okay. I also experienced that if you then turn your back on such a child and you say to him, no, not now, it helps. Okay, because they read the body language of somebody. And then afterwards you go and you say, I'm so sorry that I turned my back on you. But you know what? And explain to him how difficult it is to present a class while he's talking. So the whole time you're busy teaching the child how to communicate effectively in a social environment. Okay.
With the little ones, there are tools you can use. For example, you can put little cards on a stick, an ice cream stick.
That's
and
right.
Ask them if you want to say anything, lift
your card. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But
you can train them if they're younger.
Yeah. Yeah. And colors also. Yes. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Okay, now I want to hear, what have you learned from this presentation? Tell me, what have you learned?
That she doesn't listen.
She is never.
Yes.
Not assume that we are always right.
Ah, that's a wonderful point. Yes.
It's okay to ask management why.
Yes, it's okay to ask why.
To learn to listen intentionally.
Intentional listening, yes.
Learn to consider everyone's opinion.
That's right. Consider the other's opinions. Yes. What else?
Now I understand why I don't listen.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe now you understand, just maybe I've got a block. Yeah, an ear block. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yes. Ah, okay. The conflict situations and what it is, ne? Yeah, and why we get conflict. Yes. Yes. All information is processed through emotions. So emotional stability for learning is very, very important. Yes.
What about teachers who are emotionally unstable?
Yes. That's also a problem. And that is why I want to invite you to, if you want me to come to your school and then do a course there or do a presentation there, if you want me to maybe work with you, remember I'm internationally certified as a coach. So a lot of times I work with teachers, especially because the stressful environment that you need to work in. Who have you got to talk to? Okay. And remember, coaching is not counseling. Coaching is something totally different. And I make sure then that you reach your goals, what you've got. But you will feel like, I can manage. And the stress is not so much, it's okay. I will be able to manage. And that is when you get emotionally stable.
And I think that's an important starting point.
Yes.
To make sure that our teachers
are emotionally stable. That's true. I've got a course also that's SACE accredited. You get 5 points when you do that course. It's a 5-hour course. And then I do this thinking preferences and stress functioning of every person that attend the course. And then I work with the principals and the leaders, or the teachers, whoever is attending the course, to understand how you can then work with stress in the teaching environment, but then also get to each other and have team collaboration. Okay, so there is that opportunity as well. So please go and write your names, your telephone number, your email address, and what you want me to do. You will see there's space where you can just mark. If you want to talk, at your school, just mark that. Or if you want a profile, just mark that. And I will, in any case, then call you and ask you, okay, what is your needs? And then I can help you with that. Just remember that if it's not possible for you, because I ask business, the money is according to my business. Ne? So therefore, if it's not possible for the school to pay or whatever, then we look for sponsors. Okay, and we try to get to sponsors and we work together, and as soon as we get a sponsor, we will be able to do what it, according to whatever your needs are.
I just have a question. We find that children and parents have a need for study methods. And
Yes.
for them to understand how they process their food.
Yes.
To be able to do something like
That is why I showed you at the beginning the education part. You can all take out your cell phones quickly. And then you go to your contacts and then you put in my number. Because I don't believe in cards. I believe in you've got your cell phone with you. So put in my number and then underneath it you put in my website. And on my website you will read there I've got different courses. The Study Works course is for high school kids. That's going to help them with their study methods, but then especially with brain enhancement. So I don't believe just in a study method. I believe in the whole child, his ability, emotional stability, and then effective brain functioning. Okay, and then also how to implement correct learning. Okay. Because all the study methods isn't the correct way to learn. And then I've got also a primary school, a B-sharp course with the parents and the learners. And that is then where the parents learn how to make sure that my child is emotionally stable for learning in the school environment. Okay, so I've got a lot of things that you can go through and read through on my website. Yes, my name is Emilise. You write it E-M-I-L-I-S-E. Emilise Rautenbach, R-A-U-T-E-N-B-A-C-H. Okay, Rautenbach. My number is 082 337 5412. So 082 337 5412. My website is www.dare, remember dare is D-A-R-E, hyphen, training. So hyphen is just a dash, yeah, training, and .com. Okay. .com, C-O-M. .com. Maybe a ear block. Okay, the website is www.dare-training.com. Okay, have you got it? Yes.
I just want to ask a question in terms of being a principal, if there's teachers who are communicate and having
Yes. Problems with each other.
Yeah, fights between teachers.
Yeah.
How do you as a principal step in and try to resolve that?
Okay, usually what works wonderfully, if you put the two people together and you sit there and you let the one talk and then you ask him, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Why? So that that person can start thinking about what is his way of thinking and what's his perception of the things. And then you do the same with the other one. Why this, why that, why that? And then you tell them what I hear. Okay, so don't tell them you are right, you are wrong. Tell them what I hear is that you want this and this and this, but you want this and this and this. So tell tell me, how will you resolve this? because this is what I perceive from this. Because now they hear how they are thinking about things. And they will come up with a plan. Always. Okay.
But other than that, what is important is for you to find out what type of conflict do they have. Is it a personal conflict or a work-related?
That's right.
So that if it's work-related, then you refer them to the policies that you are implementing.
Yes.
But if it's personal, that's when you need other strategies to deal with.
That's right. That's right. And that is why there's people always that can help you, like counselors and psychologists, and you can even phone me. I'm there. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give a big hand to Emilise. Big hand to Emilise. Thank you so much. You see why I said to you right in the beginning, teachers, principals, anybody working in a school environment, you heroes in my eyes. Because if you have a class with 60 children right in front of you, and they're all in a different place in their brains, how to work with those, it's a difficult story. So I really honor you and respect you for that. I've been a teacher, I know. Okay, I definitely need you to please write on our feedback forms, just tell us how you felt about today. That's the first thing. Also suggest to us what it is that you want to hear at School Leadership Forum. It's important, then we know who to get next time for as a speaker. I also want to thank, I'm not sure whether there's anybody from school, from SLF here today, is there? My school?
We have 2 ladies from my school.
Oh, thank you. I need to thank you very much for your support. If it wasn't for my school, we could never have done what we're doing around the country. So please tell anybody that I know Eileen very well, so just say thank you again from PFP. All right, and then I need to say thank you to you, Emilise. That was so interesting. And I do understand so many more things, and I want Luba just to present you. Thank you so much. Okay, and to all of you that attended, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the afternoon, and you'll be invited next time again. Thank you so much, and travel safely.